Hi, it's Susie from Pink Diamond Guide. How are you today? I wanted to bring you another little bit of an information video of what I know so far about this twin flame journey and why we've got to go through the things that we've got go through. In the first key concepts ideal, I brought through how I believe twin flames are connected in the ether or in our 5D realm, that we come from pure latent energy and that we eventually will return to that quantum C latent energy. But while we're here, we have a certain way of connecting with our twin that is connected to our joint consciousness. Now, there's much more we can dive into around how our consciousness divides and how we can access different versions of it. But we'll save that for a later date. What I wanted to get in today is like, what is the mission? So we're looking at twin flames being here on a mission, right? You hear this all the time in twin flame doctrine. You hear about the mission, and as part of the mission, you hear about twins get here in different ways. Hopefully, we can focus that up a little bit. How do we do that? Can we focus? By mission, right? Oh, and then it disappears as we go. Maybe we can bring something up there to bring it into focus. We did it. There we go. Okay, so what is the mission about? So you'll probably hear words like we're here to raise the vibration of humanity, that twin flames have volunteered to come down here and bring through a new archetype of love, which is, you go, that's a lot of big talk. I'm just a simple person, girl who met a boy and I fell in love, and now I found myself mixed up in all this twin flame doctrine. He ran away and left me with a broken heart, and I just want to know, are we coming back? What has this mission rubbish got to do with me? Well, you play a very important part of it. If you acknowledge that you're on a twin flame journey and that you're here to be part of the mission, part of your job is to bring forth a new archetype of what love looks like. So at the moment, like, I think one of the ways I explain it is that love is currently identified with this kind of energy, right? A love heart. That's not even a very good love heart, is it? It's like, how do I draw this love heart so it's in perfect harmony? I don't know if I can, but anyway, isn't that the struggle that we have right now with love? Is that we're all fighting to feel like we're in perfect harmony, and love looks like this: two halves of a wonderful whole. But to draw this love heart, I really kind of have to carefully work on what's going on over here to make it look like a love heart. I have to stop and change direction, and I have to draw my other side of the love heart and go, this is what love looks like. But love here has these stopping points. It has these conditional elements that go, if I'm going to draw this love heart, I have to stop what I'm doing, change direction to fill in the other half of the love heart. So I call this the old archetype, right? The old love heart is the old archetype of love. And it sat at a certain vibration, and it required certain conditions for it to become love. We sat in these energies of feeling like we were, you're going to hear words like, here I was independent over here, living my life. And then what happens is I come into contact with the person that I love, and our lives merge, and here our lives joined, right? We had this ideal of being codependent on each other, or this part of our lives having to intersect for us to be able to live together, to join. And the old archetype would contain words like codependent, as if it was a bad thing. Being codependent on someone requires that they just bring part of who they are into the journey, and you merge in a very 3D way to live your life. There's always sacrifice and giving and moving, but essentially, you kept person number one over two, person number two over there, and what became codependent was the things that without them you couldn't continue to live your life happy and harmonious. So the mission of twin flames was really to shift what this archetype look like, is into to moving into an energy like that. As the planet lifted her vibration higher and higher and higher, that this model of what love looked like shifted into a place of interdependency, where there was a merging of energies that make sense, not just a cohabitation where we had to give and give and give and give of ourselves to be able to make a scenario work, but we want to move into a place of interdependence, where the energies merged in a healthy way of give and take, and we create new lives interdependent of each other. What does the new archetype look like? Let's have a bit of a look. So, new archetype comes along, and I want to say the new archetype that is trying to be brought forward looks more like this. It is the infinity symbol. This is, to me, what the new archetype of love looks like. I don't have to stop and change direction. I don't have to be anything other than the beautiful energy that I came down here to be. I don't have to sacrifice my ideals. I don't have to sacrifice my values. I just have to live in alignment with the frequency of the divine. I want to live in love. I want to give and take. I just want energy to flow. But here in the middle is the neutral point, right? And here is where I rest. Energy will always be moving out. And if we have a positive wing and a negative wing, so sometimes I'll have to live in my masculine energy or my positive energy. I'll have to live in my feminine energy or my negative space. And I will move between the two. But I do not have to fixate on a stopping point. Right? The neutral point here, I will continue to cross back and forth through it. It is my place of creation. And when I meet a partner who I want to, instead of living in this codependent fashion, I want to live in an energy that is interdependent, right? So I belong into this flow of life, and within this flow of life, my partner and I have our own flow of life. But the energy can continue to flow. None of it requires a stopping point. I can travel around this energy freely. I can move and mingle with my partner's energy. I can sit alone in my own energy. But the energy continues to flow back and forward between us in a constant flow of energy. I look at this energy, and this is not a science. This is just what Spirit has shown me the new archetype is. And they call this energy, when they talk to me, as interdependent energy. So, this interdependent. Let's try that. Well done, Suze. Holy moly. That's terrible spelling. So, interdependent energy. So, essentially, if we go the old archetype, looked like a love heart, right? Where the energy had to stop, adjust, and change and flow. And the old way of connecting looked like this, like two beings who crossed over their lives in the middle, but essentially what remains theirs over there remains theirs, and they try and merge this. We rely on each other to bring this energy forward, this love heart energy forward for us to exist. We have a codependency on the other person meeting our needs in a manner that is sufficient to keep us healthy and functioning and alive. Whereas the interdependent energy really relies on you understanding that energy just wants to move and flow, and that there's a connection that aligns you to the divine and the universe, and there's a connection that moves and flows in with you, and then there's connections that move between heaven and earth that are separate from yours. But all of these energies are constantly in flux, and they're constantly moving. They don't have a stopping point. Do you see where I'm going with that? The old archetype of love had rigid facilities that kept it boarded and bound and safe, or kept it boarded and bound and codependent, relying on each other. Where interdependence really does bring that ideal forward, that sure, you rely on people to bring energy exchanges towards you. It's a necessity for life, for energy to constantly be in flux and be exchanging. But what we're trying to understand is that it's a healthy exchange of having positives and negatives play out, and not holding other people accountable for the energy that moves within us to keep flowing, and the connections that we have with the divine and the earth, the connections that we have with others, to continue to have those energies flow. You are always going to have, from that creation point, energy just wants to continue to move in a give and take of fair exchange. It doesn't want to stop. It doesn't want to be stagnant. It wants to continue to move and flow. Now, in a twin flame connection, this is essentially what I'm saying the pattern is it's a give and take of energy that is constantly in flux and constantly in movement. Now, in the old ties that bind, you could cut out half of your heart and eliminate it and say, bye-bye, off you go, I'll build something new, I'll have someone else come in. But when you're looking at twin flame energy, this tie is eternal. And this is the new archetype that the divine wants to bring in, the understanding that the ties that we have, the ties that bind, they don't rely on whether someone earns enough money. They don't rely on whether someone is the same race, religion, age, demographic, whatever. This new archetype of love relies on the ability of energy to flow. It just relies on this. We just want energy to be able to flow. It doesn't say you have to be my race and my religion to love me. It doesn't say you have to earn the right amount of money to match my living to love me. You don't have to you don't have to be my age. You don't have to match me in any way, shape or form. Love is a frequency. Love is an energy, and twins are here to bring this new archetype forward. That is your mission. It's got nothing to do with romantic comedy. There's nothing love heartish about these energies, right? The love hearts are the old archetype. The romance. Do you get to enjoy light-hearted moments with your twin? Yeah, you do. You get to swing out on all of these frequencies. Do you get to experience heartache and frustration? Yeah, you do. Do you get to experience the full gamut of life of being a twin flame? Yeah, you do. But you understand that the energy is always in flux. You know how to move pain on quickly. You know how to get past indifference quickly. You know how to see people for the energy beings that they are. You know how to experience love in a healthy way. You know how to experience pain in a healthy way. This is just the whole purpose of the mission, is bringing in the new archetype that is based on love and understanding. Now, how do you get there? Spirit puts us through an incredibly the journey is big. To get into the energy of this new archetype requires the breaking down of the old, right? All of those things that held us in the old archetype to bring forth the new. And you don't just get born in it, though. Those who follow us will be. We are the ones who are the bridge, who are bringing in this new archetype. And part of when we get here, we're born into the old archetype, and we have to figure out how to bring in the new. And it comes with lots of lessons along the way, lots of hurtful, painful lessons and ascension journeys that just have you shaking your head in misunderstanding, because the world will tell you to be a certain way because they're operating by and large in the old archetype, and the new archetype that soul is leading it into looks very, very different, right? It's all about energy. Okay, so let's talk about, in this mission, you're going to hear a lot about twins coming through in waves, right? And I wouldn't be surprised that you get lots of signs and symbols along the way. You get lots of reasons why you believe the doctor to be true. You'll hear something, you'll see something, and you'll go, righto, this makes sense to me. So I'm going to bring in here the idea of the waves. Now, when I was in the early days of this journey, I kept seeing triangles everywhere, and I went, the triangles mean something. The triangles are all that they mean something. I don't know what they mean, but I'm going to let it settle and I'm going to keep diving into it and figuring it out. Now, what I came to understand is that there's sacred geometry became a very big part of understanding my journey, and I was looking at how triangles are, they've got a specific role to play in sacred geometry, which is it's another lesson. But essentially, we're looking at how if creation started from somewhere, it started from a point, and then its first dimension of creation came out and it was a line, and then we've moved out into turning lines traveling into a different direction. So, and then we've brought the ability to bring shapes forward, which is the building blocks for life and creation and all of the above. So if we accept that the triangle is a fundamental building block of the reality, and we will, I'm not going to go into the maths. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a quantum physics specialist. I just learn what other people have researched. They're the ones who've researched it, and I go forth and find the infinite spirit will give me a vision, and then I will go forth and go, what is the purpose of why am I seeing triangles everywhere? And what I came to find out is triangles are very, very important building blocks in the creation of life. And we can dive into more fantastic building blocks as we go, but we're going to settle on this basic one. Now, when I asked specifically about why triangles were important with twins, and it's because we're trying to build a new archetype in. And because we're trying to build a new archetype, 3 is a very powerful number. The triangle is a very powerful number. And what I got given is there are 3 waves of twin flames coming in to bring in the new archetype, and each of them have got a different job. So let's look at, we've got wave 1, we've got wave 2, and we've got wave 3. Now, initially, when I first found this information, I connected the waves to having specific times and dates, right? Thinking, well, wave 1 would go first, wave 2 would go second, and wave 3 would come in last, as if time was a construct that the universe would play nicely by. So all the wave 1s would go first, all the wave 2s would come second, and all the wave 3s would happen after. But that is not the case to be true. What I understand is that all the waves are crashing at once. Why we got to think that waves were a time factor is that a lot of wave 2s woke up around 2012 and to 2013, where this journey really started to they started to get information about it and get on with their ascension journey. So we started to think that that was a time indicator, that these waves would come in time blocks. But it was already apparent that wave 1s were crashing at the same time and wave 3s were coming online at the same time. I think the fact that wave 2s, because of the way that their journey plays out, because of the task related, that we looked at putting timelines on these waves because of it. Now, what we want to suggest is that all of these waves are crashing simultaneously, but within the waves, people are coming online at different times. They're waking up at different times. And it's not the time that's relevant about the wave, it's the task. So waves to me are task related versus time related. And you could wake up at a different time to another twin on the same wave, but still be tasked with the same responsibility. So let's break it down in task. And this is the thing, there's no... You'll probably hear different versions of this doctrine, so take what resonates and leave the rest. What we know to be true is that people wake up in collectives or they wake up in groups, but they're finding themselves tasked differently. So there was a big wave in 2000, and we're experiencing another big wave that's probably been from 2019 that will probably extend out to 2023, that there seems to be another big push of energy coming along for twins. And in between time, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, they've all been experiencing different versions of ascension. It hasn't been wave 1 goes first, wave 2, then wave 3. It's like all versions of these tasks are playing out simultaneously. So let's have a look. Wave 1, we're going to call these ground breakers, right? And, you might look around your circle and realize that you have a triangle of these people playing out around you. You might. I certainly woke up and found that out. I have a wave one, a wave two, and a wave three all going through the journey simultaneously. And it was one of those strange things because I identify with wave two that was going, it felt like I was, ahead of the curve. But when we actually broke down what was going on, there was somebody in my circle who I would actually go, well, your information feels more connected to what this wave one feels like. Even though it feels like I'm leading and charging or whatever, it feels like you've been on this journey about the same amount of time that I have, but you've experienced the twin flame phenomena differently. And we go, well, what is it about the wave oneers that looks different to wave two? Now, wave one generally find themselves in very secure scenarios. So you may be in a long-term marriage or a long-term commitment, or you might have soulmates such as parents or who provide really good security for you in life. We seem to see that wave oneers have good security in the way that they have people around you, either a long-term soulmate or they have parents, family, someone who's providing security. It's like they feel a level of safety in the world, or they have a safety net. So long-term safety or long-term relationships feels like a current theme around them. But what their job is they come up against some really hardcore big karmic blocks. So for mine, these guys are coming up things like family karmic blocks, and or scenarios. They could be connected to education or having some kind of political or environmental scenario that puts them in this realm of having a big karmic block to move or to heal. There's significant karmic issues, and the which is broad in scope. Like, it's not a specific scenario that these guys seem to get pinned down on. They've got big karmic blocks, and those karmic blocks appear to be broad. These guys are switched on cookies, find themselves in positions of leadership because they feel strong and safe and secure. They are in a position of breaking ground. And this is not just breaking ground for wave tours, right? They are groundbreakers for anyone and anyone around them who requires a karmic shakeup, right? Because wave two, wave three, we all do our levels of groundbreaking as well, but it's very, very different. What groundbreakers in wave one are experiencing is moving big karmic blocks that are broad in scope, and it's generally they have security in their relationships, right? So let's have a look. Let's move on to these big and I want to say wave tours are significant. They found each other, right? So wave two sort of come online and managed to find each other and really drove this idea of having a collective. In as much as their challenges have been very, very focused on love and relationships. Like, they were the ones who have probably struggled to form a solid relationship. Like, they've found relationships, they've probably experienced every version of love known to man, right? So every scenario that, whether they've been happy, sad, abused, abandoned, supported, rejected, they experience massive scenarios connected to love and relationships. They've had to experience broadness in financial status, broadness in age status, broadness in cultures, right? They've experienced love and relationships in more scenarios than most people would. And they can look, like, in the family might look upon them and go, oh, who's she dating now? Who's she dating now? And every time she's come up against another failed scenario, she's learned something. She's built a big, big toolkit around what it is to understand love and relationships. Probably felt like the black sheep in the family, probably felt abandonment, rejection, probably experienced that in a day-to-day way in their familial relationships, and has probably built their own financial safety. Even if sometimes financial safety has been stripped away from them because of love and relationships, they know how to build their financial safety in the world. They probably rebel a bit against the system or against the matrix, as some of us say. So they probably have unique ideals on education and the environment. I'm just going to put that under unique ideals. So they probably sit, but again, there's an emotional intelligence about them, even if people don't understand how much they've gained through all their losses. That knowledge is there. So they might be viewed upon as being unfortunate in love and relationships, but wave tours, you guys are so rich in the knowledge and the ways. I don't think that there's anything that someone could bring against you that you wouldn't have some level of resilience towards. That's another word. Wave tours have red hot grit. Now, wave tours most likely had soul collision in this lifetime. So relationship with their twin. Wave oneers are probably I'm going to put this like physical or intimate. So, had intimate relations, where wave oneers might not necessarily have had that scenario play out. They might have had soul collision play out, but it didn't turn intimate. Now, wave oneers, you're probably experiencing the waking up in your 30s and 40s, but could have had this security from the time you were in your teens to 20s, right? Wave tours probably wake up in their 30s to 40s as well, and have probably come into contact with their twin in in that capacity there, and will be working through all of those lessons that you need to understand, but have probably had on and off relationships all their life. But this understanding of the twin flame and the waking up probably happened in the 30s and the 40s, but I would suggest that you've had spiritual awareness all your life. Yeah. So that's probably been an all your life thing. I'm kind of feeling this triangle with wave 2. Maybe that's because they've had the big voice. Wave 3. What I've noticed so far, what I've come to understand, is that wave 3ers run into their twin young in life. So it could be in their teens or 20s. That they meet their twin, that they have this soul collision occurs in their 20s. And the thing about them is they have red hot awareness at a young age. Do they necessarily know what to do? Are they still working through soul ascension processes? Absolutely. But this red hot awareness of everything connected to these ideals and everything connected to these ideals feels like it's alive and well. Now, what I want to call wave 2, they are light bringers, or they hold the code. So they're light bringers and they hold the code. So let's put this here. Wave 2 holds the code, right? So they're probably very, very aware of things like 1111, the wave tours. And wave one is probably, you do have this awareness, but you are breaking ground on karmic karmic, big, broad karmic ideals as part of the mission to lift humanity into the new archetype. Wave 2 holds the spiritual code. They are the light bringers. They bring the codes of the new archetype down to the earth plane. Now, wave 3 is stabilize it. They already seem to have this awareness, or the archetype already exists. These guys come in and they exist as stabilizers. So, as you can see in our triangle of creation, we have wave oneers out there building this line in the sand against karmic, and they could be generational familiar healed. Like if there's karma in the family, they're going to be the groundbreakers in families, bringing shaking down those walls of resistance to change and the shift in resonance. And they'll probably be the ones who, if you've got family arguments dispersing, the groundbreaker in our family, she goes, "I'm such a shit stirrer. I'm a shit stirrer," and I say to her, "No, you're not. You're a catalyst. You're a catalyst for these big karmic changes." So, like as the quote unquote shit stirrer of the family, she will come in and make the big shifts, or she'll make the changes, or she'll catalyze the event. And I'll sit there and hold the frequency. I'll bring the code into the scenario. And our wave 3s that we're aware of are stabilizers. They are stabilizers. Do we sit at a similar age, and our wave 3s are much younger, but their level of awareness of who they are and where they sit on this spiritual path is well beyond. I would say as a young person, I had red hot spiritual awareness. As a young person, our wave oneer had very global awareness. Like her journey was very focused on the external. My journey has always been an internal, and I knew very young I was destined for this great love. And whereas this wave 1 energy, she was very destined to make change. She was looking at global issues, she was looking at political, she was looking at education, she was looking into genealogy, the history of the family. She knows where everybody sits and what the family had to overcome. And here I was working through my scenario connected to love and relationships to bring in the code. So even though we both identify with the twin flame journey, and it has played out differently and is played out, the significance of the different parts of the journey, and the spirit showing me that each part, each wave belongs to the triangle. Wave 3 is here to stabilize it, and it's like all of these waves are crashing simultaneously. Now within the waves are crashing. So, there's people who are wave 1 who are already in union, wave 2, wave 3 who are already in union. And there's wave 1ers who are just waking up today. There are wave 2ers just waking up, wave 3ers. It is all happening simultaneously. And this ideal that I initially held, that this was timeline centered, that like it was like you come into the journey at this point and wave 1 goes first, wave 2, like they crashed as 3 wave. I've thrown that ideal out in favor of each wave of people, and waves are connected to water. It's a spiritual wave, but spirit doesn't understand. Time's our construct, right? We're putting this timeline construct on it, whereas spirit is going, it's task oriented, not time oriented. These waves, yes, this evolution is happening, everything's energy, and we're happening under this current timeline that we understand. This evolution is shifting, but the universe doesn't construct time like we construct time. And when we look at waves, they come in a timeline, they come in one after the other. But spirit is saying that their waves are happening simultaneously. The way sacred geometry and creation happens, it's all tumbling over itself all at once. And so is this mission. The 3 waves are alive and well at any given point, and twins can wake up at any particular time. Are there patterns? Yes, twin wave 1 has significances to the pattern. Are they waking up in their 30s and 40s? Are they slower to come into the collective? Are they out there doing their work without really understanding what this wave 2 was, what kind of sounded the alarm that the code has arrived. And like, because of the way that the wake up happened for wave tours, it was significant in 2012 and 13 because everybody started finding each other or reaching out for answers. It was a time where information was at our fingertips, and the internet rose as this great net of connectivity that we were able to express. Now, wave oneers were busy dealing with what was going on in their groundbreaking out here. And because their relationships were secure, they weren't really looking at the doctrine around twin flames as being something that they needed to connect with other people about. And in fact, when their twin flame arrived, even if they're in these long-term safe connections and their twin arrives, because most, by and large, these are soulmate connections that are safe and long-term and secure, their twin flame comes in to rattle the connection a bit like this. Wave two, we're talking a different story, right? They're going, I've met my twin and then they've gone, and I've been through these scenarios. So the doctrine that appeared in that 2002, 2012, 2000 window looked different to what wave oneers were experiencing. They're going, it looks like it makes sense, but it doesn't. What is the waves all about? Am I going to catch a different wave in? Not knowing that they were already part of the journey, but the doctrine, the tasks sit differently for each wave of connection. So what is the grand scheme is that wave one, wave two, wave three all work together through this window. And what it is, you know, not everyone is a twin flame and not everybody has this soul ascension journey, but the whole planet is going to raise into the new archetype of love. That is going to happen. And that twin flames were here to be the bridge that takes everybody through. Now, 1% of the population, of the energy population, has to change into this new archetype for everybody else to follow through. So somebody had to go through it first. And the particular souls that put their hands up for the twin flame soul ascension mission signed up to a particular set of tasks for creation to occur. Now remember, triangles are an important part of the facility. Creation starts from a point and then it moves across a line and then it extends down another plane to finally make a shape, and then that process keeps unfolding. Sacred geometry is another lesson, but understanding that part of the mission required for how I understand it is that each of the waves had their task to do to build what was necessary for creation to bring the new archetype of love forward. I hope that was, you know, it's probably clear as mud, but I hope there's a little bit that can be helpful in that, because again, one of the big questions I get around twin flames is what wave am I on? And, you know, one of the big ideals out there is that they were time centric, whereas I think more that they are task centric and they are all crashing together. So if you find yourself on a twin flame journey and you look to the task that around twins, and that is more of an identifier of where you find yourself on as part of the mission. What wave are you on? What tasks are being given to you? What soul ascension journeys are you playing out? And that might help you identify more with the wave that you're on, so you can find out a little bit more information about what you're likely to experience, what you might need to work on personally to get yourself to that phase where you're holding the new resonance and you can move into harmonious union and complete the mission as it has been prescribed. Okay, so if you do have any more questions on that information, or if it's been useful, let me know, ask questions, reach out, however it feels appropriate to do. And until we talk to you next time, it's in faith, hope, and love. Bye from me for now.